people voted for an eye tutorial on my Instagram, and I did post a tutorial, but it wasn't detailed enough, so here I am posting a YouTube tutorial instead. I just want to emphasize that you can do many different types of eye shapes with this style. It doesn't have to be just one. Here I've shown the different types of eye shapes that I like to draw. Now the one in the tutorial is this upturned one, but again, this is not the only eye shape you have to do. Alright, so first step, you're going to want to sketch. So there are different types of brushes. I just use the felt tip pen soft to sketch. And honestly, I wouldn't really call it like sketching. So I kind of just work on the general shape of the eye. I don't really use any shapes, which might not work for some people. Some people actually need to use shapes to sketch and everything. But I personally, I just kind of draw the outline and just kind of figure out the rough kind of where you put everything. And as you can see here, I'm gonna like redo and undo a couple times. Now I don't really show it in this clip here, but occasionally if the eye shape looks really off, I like to use the liquefy tool to like fix it. So what you're gonna see here next is I'm gonna change the color of the sketch to like a different color and then lower the opacity. It's so I can easily see the line art. So I choose like pencil graphite to do the line art. It's like my favorite brush to do like any line art. You're gonna go in with a new layer and you're gonna start doing like the line art. And I want to like emphasize that you only line like kind of like the eye lines. You don't line the iris, and you're gonna see you're gonna see why later. And yes, I'm kind of like rambling a little bit in this. This is like the first tutorial and everything. Yeah, but as you can see here, I'm just kind of doing this line art. Yep. It usually takes me quite a bit depending on certain things. The brush that I chose, it's like the opacity is dependent on like the pressure I put in, so I usually like do my lines really slow and just press really hard just to really make sure I get those dark lines. And sure, I can just use a different brush, but I like the way this brush looks, okay? Like, can you blame me? Come on, man. An alternative brush I like to use is just kind of like default dip pens, but I kind of like how this gives my drawings more of like this pencil sort of sketch look. You see that I do this like sideline on the eye thingy? I don't know why I do it. It's just kind of, it is part of my style. We're just gonna go with that, you know? So then you see I just hide the sketch to make sure it looks good and then make further adjustments. You don't want to use the liquefy tool. At least I don't use the liquefy tool on the liner because it distorts it, makes it blurry, yada yada. And I don't like that. I'm lazy. I don't want to go back and fix that, okay? I will go back and like fix like certain things that look off, and then, you know, obviously you have to like make your sketch disappear every now and then. Double check. So now, as you can see here, I'm working on like the iris. I make a new layer underneath the liner and I choose like this base color. Because I'm doing like a brown eye, I'm choosing like this really dark brown as my base. And then you're gonna go in with like felt tip pen, soft or hard. I think that's felt tip pen hard. Either way, I use one of the felt tip pens to create like the iris, and I don't use pencil graphite because sometimes I don't press hard enough, and you don't want, like, you want it to be 100% opacity, you want it to be like dark, you know? Next, I choose this off-white color to do the eye whites, and you're gonna see this later, but I'm going to accidentally like go under the eye line or something and then have to erase it. But yeah, just make sure you do like the eye white. Do it for however you like, I guess. Here I'm really like quickly gonna do like the skin. So this is like the eye of one of my like muses. So I chose that specific thing. The skin doesn't really matter here right now. It's actually kind of does matter. It's for the very last step. You'll see what it is later. So then you're gonna make a new layer, clipping mask, and then set it to 50 multiply, and then choose that pencil graphite, and then choose a kind of like a shading color, and then just shade the eye white like that. Pretty much simple stuff, you know? Make another clipping mask, and then you choose the eye color, and then you're going to just make a small like oval like kind of as you can see here in the video. It's very simple. Then you're gonna like choose a hard pen and then choose like a really dark color to make the pupil and then add details. Nothing really like too crazy here. My eyes aren't particularly detailed. I feel like what makes them look detailed is the rendering effects that I do, but you're gonna see that they look really like simple when you don't have those rendering effects. You make a new layer, set it to add, make it 50, and of course clipping mask, you know? Clipping mask is like your best friend here. Then you choose like a pastel color. I like to use this like light pink. I don't know, it just adds kind of like this nice effect to the eye. I also use this light yellow too, but for this one I used this light pink. Then finally you're gonna make one last layer for the highlight and no clipping mask this time. The highlights you can kind of do it however you want, but like how I do it is I have like these two dots on top, as you can see me drawing right here. And then like, you know, this huge line and then just one tiny dot. I go in with like this like bright teal just to add like a tiny dot over there and then take a bright pink and then put a tiny dot like at the bottom. It just adds like this nice effect. I just saw it somewhere and I was like, that's kind of cute. I want to like put it in my style. So this next part is maybe not too important. You would have probably already done this part, but it's like just skin shading. Maybe I'll do a tutorial for skin shading later if anyone wants that. Just let me know in the comments if you want to see a tutorial on that. But you can sort of see like my process for skin shading to some degree with this clip. Like I'm over here like adding the blush and then like, you know, sort of figuring out shading. Like to some degree. I promise I don't use airbrush on the entire thing, just this one section. It just makes more sense for me to have the airbrush if you've seen my art and everything. Of course I had to have like one last multiply layer. Actually no, that's not the one last multiply layer, that's like another layer of shading. Okay, there it is. You can see that one bit I had to erase or something. Make sure you pay attention to your eye white. Like make sure you don't like go over like the eyeliner, or maybe you want to, you know, I'm not gonna judge. Just for my style, you just don't want to do that, you know, otherwise it's gonna look crusty. And here you can see me fiddling and misclicking, which that's kind of frustrating. We don't really like that now, do we? So this layer is kind of just, because this character that I'm drawing the eye for wears makeup, I kind of have just this multiply layer. I'm just really quickly like adding in his eyeshadow or something, you know, because that's part of his character. He wears makeup, you know. But after the skin shading, I'm gonna go in and do something that kind of brings it all together, sort of. So what you're gonna want to do is hide the line art and then add layer from canvas, clip that layer, and then go in and blur it. And then after that, you're gonna want to go to hue, saturation, and brightness, and then set these settings, which lightness is at -100, saturation is at 30. Now, of course, it's gonna look off at first. You have to go in and fix it, okay? You can't be like that lazy. Like, you're lazy, but you can't be that lazy, okay? So then you're gonna have to go in and like erase some parts. I usually like to erase closer to like the middle of the eye, because sometimes it just looks really off, and I don't like that. And then pretty much you're like done here, I guess. I'm just going in and adding like my signature, you know, so nobody like steals that or something. But yeah, that's pretty much the tutorial. That's like the better way I can like explain this. Much better than my Instagram reel, right guys? But yeah, here's a better look at the final result. Let me know if you enjoyed this tutorial and if it was helpful, and make sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you want to see more.